And of course, any entertainment would involve the radio, listening to that, and reading. I would always read. Go to bed and I could read a while.
Do you remember any major local or national or world events? You mentioned selling stamps for World War II.
Well, that was
bonds.
at the consolidated school. I remember, but it was not at this farm. It was at the earlier farm when they'd have the blackouts, and Mother had to. I'd help her, and we had some kind of fabric, dark fabric, that we would put over all the windows and everything to make sure. And of course, the lights had to be out, but to make sure that nothing was showing. And they would have patrols going up and down the roads to make sure that people were. I do remember also June 6th, D-Day, that I remember the commentators saying the bodies were strewn on the beach like seaweed, and that really impressed me.
Anything else? Community events or national events?
Well, community events, in the summertime, the little town of Lidderdale would have, on Friday nights, they would have show a movie in the town hall, so to kind of a community building. And it was free, and you would just go to that movie and have popcorn and that kind of thing. That was always an exciting thing to get to do.
Were there any special events held at the school?
Not
Christmas programs?
I don't remember anything like that. Not at all.
Spring picnics?
Well, but nothing family-wise. And I thought about that had there not been that public school a mile and a half away and a Lutheran and a Catholic school, there would have been more involvement, because so many of the people that lived around there close by. Now, there was a farm just kind of catty-cornered from the school, and they were Lutherans, and so their children went into Lidderdale to school. And I've thought about that religious aspect, what an effect it had. And I don't remember the Catholic and the Lutheran neighboring, going to each other's homes, because you would, after, if it was a summer evening and you had everything all done, you might decide, let's go over and see so-and-so, and you would just go. You didn't have to be invited, you didn't have to wait, and you just went in unannounced. But I don't remember those people socializing. We might go to the Lutheran home, to the Lutheran family's home. There was, the Kurths were their name.
How would you spell that?
Kurth. And Lyle was a couple years older than me, and he ended up being a principal of an elementary school in Illinois. He was the youngest of three children, and he was the first one to graduate from high school. The other two had just gone through 8th grade. And his parents, they were Germans, and they had come from Germany. They immigrated to that.
And they were Lutheran.
Mm-hmm. And the farmhouse that we moved into the Nepple family, Nepple, I can't remember. But when we went to look at the house, as a little sixth grade girl, Ralph Nepple was there. And he was a decorated hero, and he had lost both of his legs, and he'd received the Congressional Medal of Honor. And I know how that impressed me. Oh, and he was there, sitting in a chair, and I was just in awe of him. And his mother introduced us to him, and right away my dad recognized his name and knew him.
Do you know of any other ways that the school building was used for polling or any kind of farm meetings or?
No, I don't, because we were, as I say, we were 1.5 miles from town, and they did have a little community center in Lidderdale, and I think probably that would have been used, something like a voting place for polling, or any kind of a meeting or anything. And of course, the major meetings that would affect the church or the parochial schools were all held at their church. Because there was a Lutheran church and a Catholic church in that little town. And I don't remember any other church there. We had to go to Glidden to go to the Methodist church. And that was about 8 miles away. And eventually then when I started high school, then Mom and Dad transferred their membership to Carroll because we were involved there.
What was your favorite part of the country school day?
I'm sure it was reading. I love to read. Reading is such a wonderful way to just immerse yourself in an adventure or someone else's life or someone else's activities, and you just, they just were friends. And so I love to read. And I'm sure if we did singing, and I remember the music, like I say, somebody had to crank up the Victrola and then we would sing with the records. I would enjoy that because I love to sing.
Do you have a bad memory? Would there be a worst memory from rural school days?
Just probably a feeling of being alone. And had there not been these other 2 schools, or these other 3 schools just 1.5 miles away, I've often thought about what the enrollment would have been there. Mm-hmm. Wow, there would have been a lot there. Now, neither the Kurth children nor the Stuhlman children had gone to this little country school. They'd all gone into Lidderdale to school.
Stuhlman?
Stuhlman, S-T-O-O-L-M-A-N.
What lessons from country schools might we benefit from today?
Probably respect, civility, self-discipline. Learning to adapt. Being a self-learner.
What advantages and I imagine maybe it's all that, what advantages do rural school children have over advantages and disadvantages? And maybe we've really covered that.
Yeah.
Could a rural school be successful in today's world?
Oh, I'm sure it could be, because think of what the possibilities are. A rural school today would definitely have electricity, of course, and probably have indoor plumbing of some kind, but it could be all the technology. I mean, you could have your everything wired up, and laptops, and they could be learning, and the world is there at their fingertips.
Anything else you think we should know about country schools?
Well, I'm sure that, like from my mother and my father, their country schools were the center of their social life also. And that was not true with my school. It was an interesting situation, with the religious aspect of it being so strong.
That's what made this interview an interesting one. It's a good one to have in there because it has this another, what word do I want?
Another aspect, of a community. And it was just an interesting, and took some adjusting for my parents, I'm sure,
For them too.
Although my dad was the kind of man that he could adapt. And I remember him saying, because at that time, Catholicism and Lutheranism both were very strict. They had and people adhered to their rules. But my father always told us that everybody's going to the same place. It's just that some people, we all take different roads to get there. And that was his explanation. And therefore, he was teaching us to respect them.
Marlene, thank you very, very much. This has been delightful.
Well, it was, when I started searching for this stuff, I was just amazed and so delighted to run across this. And it gave me pause to think about that aspect of my life, that time of my life, and really kind of bring it all back. And so I hope that I've had some contribution.
Oh, indeed.
So,
indeed you have.
If you have any questions or anything.
Okay, because now the next thing I'll do is I'll